I'm going to show my solution to this problem that was presented to me the other day on leetcode.com. And this is a basic Roman numeral to integer calculator, essentially. So you have to write a program that will take inputs of a Roman numeral and return the integer. So examples, III would output 3, LVII would output 58, and this long one would output 1994. So I'm going to kind of go through and show you how I solve this problem with C#. We will start in VS Code, and I have a .NET Core console application. Boilerplated up here with that'll print out hello YouTube to the console. So we'll just go ahead and do a .NET run and see how that works. Indeed, it works. So we will now get to programming. So let's talk about how this is going to work. We need to have a way to convert that to 1,000 and that to 100, etc. But there's a few caveats. I'll just take my year of birth, MCMLXIV. So that would be 1,964. So the M is the 1,000, and then you get the CM, which makes 900, because the C subtracts from the 1,000. So it's not going to be as easy to just take one for one and just get the value for each one of these and add it to the total. We're going to have to account for these cases. And there's another one here where you got the IV, which makes the 4. 1 from 5 is 4. So we'll deal with that later. For right now, the first thing I know I'm going to need is I'm going to need a method that will return the integer for each of these characters. So I will do a private integer is what's going to be returned, and we'll just name it Roman digit value, and we're going to pass in a string. We'll call that string S, creative name of a variable. And what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use a switch expression. So we're going to return S switch, and I don't like this on the line. So all right, we're ready to go. I'm going to go first. We'll just start from the lowest. I think that would be the most common. I don't know if that would make a difference in speed, but I is 1, and then V returns 5. We have X returning 10. And then we will have L, I guess would be next. L returns 50. And C returns 100. And D returns 500. Oh, those crazy Romans. And M returns 1,000. And we also need a default value to be returned, which would be 0. And we need to close this out with the semicolon. And I believe we have got our first method. So I think it's our only method. So let's test the method out, and we will use this console write line instead of having you. Actually, we need since that is it's not a static method, we need an instance of the program to call that method. So we'll do a var, we'll just call it app equals new solution. So there is, since the class is named solution, we need an instance of the class so that we can call that Roman digit value method. So we will do the console write line instead of a string. We will say app dot Roman digit value, and we will pass in an X. That should return 10. We will give it a shot. So I'm going to come down to my console here and go, whoops, I'm going to do a .NET run, and 10. Look at that. If I passed in let's just try one more. We'll do the last M and save that guy, and we'll do another .NET run. We should get 1,000. And let's test our default too. Let's just put in some nonsense character. There is no F. We'll save that. We'll do a .NET run on that, and that should give us a 0. Boom, we did. Okay, so we're good. So we have got our method to return individual digits. Now what I want to do is I want to write the actual integer method that will return the full value for this whole thing. That'll be next. So now we need to write the public method that this main is going to call, that is going to return the entire integer of whatever we pass in here. So we're gonna have this public, and it's also going to return an integer, and we'll call it what the website wanted us to call it, Roman to int. Roman to int. I need to be able to type, and we'll pass in a string again. We're going to also call that string S. And one of the things I like to do, because when I get these problems in the code here, is take care of why it's yelling at me. It's telling me that this isn't returning anything. So I will set that up, and we know it's going to be an integer, so we're going to just say int result, and we'll set it to 0 initially, and we'll come down here and we'll just return it, return result, and then it will stop complaining that it's not returning anything. So let me just bring this up. We'll just bring this up here. So let's talk about how this is going to work. So we're going to iterate through this entire string and pass in each of these characters into this method here, return the value, and then we're going to add them to the total. This is the result that we're going to return. So in the first character, when it evaluates the M, it's going to come back with 1,000, and it's going to add it to the result. But then the second character, it's not going to add 100. Since the next character is larger, it's going to subtract the 100, and then it'll add this, it'll add this, it'll add this, subtract this, and add this. So there's two different cases that we have to account for. One, if the next digit is higher. The other case is if there is no next digit. So when we're on our last character, we don't want to look at the next character, because otherwise it's going to throw an exception. So what we need first is we need to iterate. So we'll go integer I equals 0. That'll be the first character. And then we're going to do this as long as the iterator is less than the length of the string, and we'll just add 1 to it as we go. And so we'll do that first case. We're going to check before we do anything else whether or not we're on the last character or not. So we'll have a conditional if the I is equal to the s dot length. But since this is 0, like if you have a 3 character, that's 0, 1, and 2. We want to say if I is the length minus 1. That means it's the last the last character. Pretty basic stuff, but for the uninitiated. So what is going to happen if this is true? We need to add the value of that, what is going to be returned from this to the result. So we're just going to say result plus equals or add to. We're going to use the Roman digit value method, and we're going to pass in the S and the index that we're on. In this case, it'll be the last index. It's a character, so we have to make that to string since we're passing in strings to the Roman digit value method. And that's it. So we have added that. But for everything other than the last, so we need an else. An else, we're going to have to look at two numbers at a time. So we'll just do the first character first. So let's just imagine this is 0 right now. The iterator is 0. So the first value is going to be, we're going to pass in the Roman digit value, same thing, and we're going to pass in the indexed to string, and that will set the variable first. We could have made that an int. We could just say int second, but I like to use var. I don't know why. Int second equals Roman. You know what? This would be a lot easier if I just go up here and do a shift alt down and make it second Roman digit value. Everything's the same except we want to go one more in the character. So the index will be one beyond it. And that will not be, this will never happen on the last character, so we don't have to worry about that. We took care of that in the beginning. And then what are we going to do with these two numbers? Well, we're going to add something to the result. So it's going to be the same, plus equals, but we need to evaluate whether or not the first value is greater than or equal to the second value. And if it is, what are we adding? We're just going to add the first value. If it's not greater than or equal to, then we're going to add the first value times -1. So in other words, we're going to subtract the value. But it's a lot easier to say, since we can do this all in one line, if we're going to change the result either by adding or subtracting. This is the addition, this is the subtraction. And that should be it. That should return the result we want. Now, let's see. Oh, we got to change the method it's calling on the console. This is what's running, right? So we still need the app, but instead of using the Roman digit value, we're going to use this Roman to int, and we're going to pass in. So we'll test the value here that I did, 1964. That should. I'm going to cross my fingers. I'm going to save here, and we will do a .NET run, and we should expect to see 1964. Fingers crossed. Yes, 1964. It worked. So let's just do, maybe edge cases. We'll do an F, and we'll save that. And did we account for that? Yeah, it's giving me a 0. It's perfect. What if I just have one character? V, save, and we'll do that. And 5 worked. So it looks like we're good. Let's do 2023. 2023. Well, that's an easy. This year is a pretty easy Roman numeral to do. 2023. It works. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.